What is going on? It's your boy Edward, and today in the Boxing Weekly Recap, we're going to talk about Gennady Golovkin and Danny Jacobs coming to an agreement, Ward thinking about potential retirement, Terence Crawford finding himself in a bit of trouble, and the Bernard Hopkins versus Joe Smith fight. Stay tuned. This is the Boxing Weekly Recap. Let's do this. First thing I want to talk about is HBO and Showtime. HBO and Showtime are actually battling right now and are in a bidding war to see who can get the rights to Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko. Both HBO and Showtime are battling each other right now so that they can air it for you to view it in the United States. The magnitude of this fight is actually huge because this fight can determine a pendulum shift. If Anthony Joshua defeats Vladimir Klitschko, all of his critics will have to take notice. This fight is big, and it's completely understandable that Showtime and HBO would be in a bidding war for the US rights. And in absolutely amazing news, Danny Jacobs versus Gennady Golovkin has been signed and done, and they'll be fighting in Madison Square Garden come March. Thank you. The boxing gods have heard us, and they are giving us the fight that we've been asking for a long time. I almost thought this fight wasn't going to happen as they went to a purse bid, but they were able to iron out whatever they needed to iron out on that contract to make both Danny Jacobs and Gennady Golovkin happy, and we're going to get this fight. 2017 is looking fantastic, especially coming off this not so stellar year when it comes to matchmaking of 2016. That fight is going to be very, very tough for both fighters, but I will be making a prediction for that fight when we get closer to the fight date. Oscar De La Hoya was also on First Take. He bet his job that Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez will be fighting in 2017. So we're going to go ahead and hold you to it. Let's see this fight. Personally, if Danny Jacobs beats Golovkin, I want to see Danny Jacobs versus Canelo. But if Golovkin beats Danny Jacobs, that is a must-watch fight, and it has been building up and building up and building up. I think it's actually pay-per-view worthy. 2017, bring 2017 over here. Come on, 2017. This is an amazing year that we're about to have when it comes to boxing, guys. So Floyd Mayweather has been going crazy on Instagram Live.
Conor McGregor, so Conor McChapo. Conor McChapo. Conor, did you quit, you little?
Yes, it hurt.
Irishman. It hurt me like Irishman.
He went for my bottle gold.
Okay, Conor, come here. Conor, you can see it. Conor, tell me what happened.
He went for my bottle gold and I think he got it, goddammit.
Apparently Instagram Live is a new feature that you can use on Instagram, and Floyd Mayweather has been using it for multiple days in a row. And he was actually getting at Conor McGregor. It appears that this fight is on its way to being made. I don't care what anybody says. One guy's MMA, one guy's boxing. I don't care. Money talks louder than all of that. This is probably the most lucrative fight that can be made. As sad as that is, because as a circus fight that this would be, it is still the most lucrative fight because both are really huge names, and they crash through that glass of casual fans very, very easily and pull them to watch. I honestly feel deep inside that this fight has been cooking up for a while, and both parties are well aware of where they stand and how far they're willing to take this, and if there's a fight coming or not. I think there's a fight coming. I honestly feel that there's a fight coming. I can't say for sure if it'll be 2017, but I do feel that something is brewing. It just seems too odd. Mayweather is giving it too much attention. Not to mention, from my previous weekly recap where I mentioned that Mayweather was talking about him fighting Conor McGregor, and he'll do that fight. It is way too fishy at this point for this not to be something that's a genuine possibility. Also, the WBC held its 54th annual convention last week as well, and it was really star-studded. A bunch of boxers came out that weren't even expected. Boxers like Floyd Mayweather, Amir Khan, all came out. Mayweather specifically received the Guinness World Record for generating $1.3 billion in revenue, in pay-per-view revenue for a boxer. Andre Ward is now talking retirement. No, Andre, you're a man. You can do whatever you want to do. And if you feel that it's safer for you to step away from the sport, if you feel that you don't want the sport to retire you, I completely understand that. And who am I to tell you what you're supposed to do? But as a fan of the sport, the fight with Kovalev was so close that the closure has to be there. You have to give us closure. And the only way you can do that is by rematching Sergey Kovalev. Now, if you rematch Sergey Kovalev and then after that rematch, you decide that you want to step away from the sport. As slightly annoying as a fan, this is a fan's perspective, as slightly annoying for a fan to feel that you won't be fighting Adonis Stevenson and others in the light heavyweight division, as slightly annoying as that feels, it's still better than just retiring right now. I'd rather you rematch, retire, and then we can go ahead and give you all the props that you need, and it will make it a much easier send-off for you. And now let's go ahead and talk about Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford was arrested for 90 days in Omaha. Apparently, his vehicle was being detailed, or there were some modifications that were being done, some special modifications by a custom shop. The way it was set up is that he was gonna pay 50% of the payment first, and then when he received the vehicle, he will pay the other 50%. But it appears that when Terence Crawford came to pick up his vehicle, he didn't like what he saw. So then he proceeded to bombard the entire establishment, go right to the hydraulic release, pull the hydraulic release himself with no prior knowledge of how to use it, drop his vehicle from wherever it was, then use a tow truck, hook his vehicle to the tow truck, and then pull away with his vehicle. This seems like a lot. Like, what? This seems like so much. I mean, how can you have that much anger that you're like, you know what, I'm gonna pull this hydraulic press and I'm gonna get everybody move out the way. I'm gonna get that tow truck. I'm hooking this up. I'm hooking that up. That's my car right there. I'm gonna get the tow truck. I'm driving. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work for anger. Anyways, he did that, breaking the hydraulic press according to the store owner or the custom shop owner, and in the process didn't pay the rest of the 50%. So apparently he didn't like the job that they gave him. And now the judge has sentenced Terence Crawford to 90 days, which he will probably serve about 53 days of those 90 days. And he'll be on probation and what have you. But that's something that Terence Crawford needs to definitely control. We don't need that right now. We need you to stay focused so we can get these amazing fights, and hopefully we can get that Manny Pacquiao fight. So please, Terence Crawford, stay the course. Don't do this to yourself. Stay the course, man. And now let's go ahead and close this out with the Bernard Hopkins versus Joe Smith fight. Okay, so Bernard Hopkins has a very funny way of giving up. And like HBO was saying, oh, this reminds me of Joe Louis, when Joe Louis, the great Joe Louis, was knocked out of the ring by Rocky Marciano and his career was ending. And this didn't remind me of that. When I saw this, what it reminded me of was Chad Dawson versus Bernard Hopkins 1. That's what that reminded me of. Bernard Hopkins cheating all of the fans out of a pay-per-view by falling out of the ring versus Chad Dawson in maybe the second round or whatever it was, because Chad lifted him a little bit, so he threw himself out of the ring and then said he couldn't continue because one shoulder was hurt and popped, and the other shoulder, you can tell, look at my shoulders, one is big, can't you see it, can't you see, I can't continue. And that is the same thing he did in this fight. Did he get punched? Yes. Did he get rocked? Yes, he did get rocked. He noticed that he couldn't beat this gentleman, and he didn't want to lose. He didn't want to lose. So what he did was he let himself fall out of the ring. He let himself, well, I said it, he let himself fall out of the ring. He was punched badly, yes, but he still had his wherewithal. He knew where he was. He just decided to fall out of the ring. And the reason he decided to fall out of the ring is because this is Bernard Hopkins' way of quitting or ending it so that the other guy doesn't just cleanly win. So now people can say, oh, he got pushed, he got this, he got that. But if you look at the footage, he looks completely foolish saying that he pushed him. He looks completely foolish saying that his forearm pushed him. Max Kellerman looks completely foolish trying to pander to Bernard Hopkins by saying that he had his forearm on there. The punches couldn't be more clear. Joe Smith was nowhere near pushing him. Everything that touched Bernard Hopkins was straight up glove, and it popped him, and he just fell out with a hook, with a left hook, and then he flew out. Joe Smith didn't even touch him. He didn't even touch him. It looked devastating. He landed on the back of his head. He said his ankle, he hurt his ankle, but if you watch the thing, his legs stayed up in the air. They didn't go onto the steps. They didn't do anything weird, but he couldn't walk because of his ankle. This was another way for Bernard Hopkins to quit, but I'm gonna let it go because it's whatever. He's still a legendary fighter in his own right, and this was his last fight. So farewell to Bernard Hopkins. He will be missed, but please stop saying that he pushed you out of the ring, because that is straight up BS, and you know it, Bernard Hopkins. You know what you were trying to do, and to me, I didn't think about Joe Louis. I thought about what you pulled with Chad Dawson. So whatever, congratulations on your career. And Joe Smith, congratulations, man. They don't want to give you the credit that you should be getting for this, but you deserve a lot of credit, because no matter how you cut it, slice it, dice it, you're the first person to ever knock out Bernard Hopkins. And that is it for this week's Boxing Weekly Recap. I'm your host, Edward, and I will see you on Friday. And then, of course, I will see you on Monday again in the same spot, same area for the Boxing Weekly Recap. Have a good one. Peace out, guys.